Hi all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode I'm going to give you the quickest review I possibly can on the brand new Inkbird 306T-A. That's the 306 version, twin temperature probe, aquarium based temperature controller. Alright, so if you get around some of the YouTube channels, you'll start to see lots of these Inkbird reviews popping up there, and that's for complete disclosure. Inkbird is sending them out to YouTubers to get a review out on there, and my review's no different. It's not paid by Inkbird at all, but they did give me this unit as a thank you for doing the review, so bear that in mind while I'm doing the review. First thing we've got to cover is temperature controllers. What do they do? Why are they important? So if you've ever had an aquarium heater before and you know what it's like setting the temperature, you normally got a dial on the top, you turn that around and you sort of just put it in and hope that's right. Even if you got one of the new sort of electronic ones, you dial the temperature in it. Usually the temperature probe is built into the heater, so the heater sits there and the water that the heater heats is right around the probe. The probe either reads water that it's just heated or it does some sort of calculation based on knowing that it just heated the water there, so it heats that water a little bit more. Either way, it's a pretty inexact science. Temperature controllers give you an external probe and they then turn your heater on or off based on the temperature you set. Super handy. It allows you to put the probe further away from the heater. Most of the time when heaters fail, they stay on. So a temperature controller, you can still use a broken heater with it. You can leave your broken heater in there. Temperature controller will turn it on and off. Or you can use heaters that don't even have temperature control in them, such as the Shago Titaniums and some other units out there. I know BRS have got one now, and ironically the BRS temperature controller looks a lot like a rebranded Inkbird. Maybe, maybe not, who knows. Right, now let's get into some of the features of the Inkbird 306T-A. Okay, first of all, I run the sort of DIY version of temperature controllers on all of my tanks. I run the STC-1000. I'll put an image up either there or there to show you what they look like, and they've been really handy little units. There's been a couple of drawbacks with them. Some of the units get supplied with a metal-tipped probe. They are no good. You cannot use the metal-tipped probe. It eventually corrodes. Your temperature readings go out of whack and it can either cook or freeze your tank. You do not want that. The Inkbird comes with two, you heard me, two plastic coated probes. Why you need two, I'm not exactly sure, and we'll go over that a bit later. The next thing that comes up as a bit of a hurdle with the ITC-1000s is that you have to wire them yourself. Now technically that's actually illegal in Australia unless you're an electrician. It's incredibly dangerous. You're working with 240 volt AC, or if you're overseas it might be 120 volt AC. Either way, it's very dangerous. You really need to get those wired by a qualified electrician, which just adds to your cost. And then you also end up with a bit of a DIY looking solution. Obviously the Inkbird comes with all of its Australian plugs, and you can get ones for different parts of the world. Pre-wired on there, there's no DIY to it at all. Both your input and your output are fully Australian compliant, so you're good to go there. Okay, and lastly, the final limitation with the STC-1000 is that it's a standalone unit, doesn't really communicate with anything else. The only way you can see what the temperature is or what the temperature setting is to be right at the unit itself. That's fine, and also when you program them, you have to be at the unit, you have to press buttons, and the menus are a little bit confusing. Once you've done it a few times, you get your head around it, it's okay, but everything has to be done at the unit itself. Now, I don't know how many times I've explained to someone how to change their minimum or maximum temperature on the STC-1000. It would be probably close to 1,000 times. Thankfully with the Inkbird, this unit comes with Wi-Fi built in, and it gets a free app, so you download the app. You still have buttons on the unit that you can set the low temperature and higher temperature to if you want to, but you don't have to. You can download the app, read the quick scan code, it's going to connect up for you, put in your Wi-Fi details, you can now control that from anywhere in the world. Okay, so the benefit of that is you don't have to keep pressing buttons to work out your high and low settings, but also most importantly, well actually, no, I'll take that back. Second most importantly, you can check your temperature anywhere. So if it's a really cold day or you can't remember if you turned the power back on, or you're worried if your heater's broken or something like that, you can check the temperature of your tank anywhere. If it's a really hot day like today is a bit and I'm sweating, and you're sitting at work and you're wondering, I wonder if that tank's cooking or not, open up the app, have a look at the temperature, you're good to go. Now, the most important thing to do with the Inkbird, this new Wi-Fi model, is not only can you check your temperature anywhere, but you can also set temperature alarms that will send a push notification to you. It is incredible. So if you set a maximum temperature of 25.5 and then you have an alarm at 26.0, your Inkbird can send you a push notification to say your alarm temperature has been reached, and it will also sound an alarm on the unit. The alarm on the unit's a little bit annoying, I must admit. I didn't realize it also has a continuous heating alarm, and if the heater stays powered on for whatever the setting is, it will sound off an audible alarm, and it is loud. It's great, you won't miss it, but it is also a real pain if you don't actually want it to go off. So maybe in a future firmware revision they can maybe disactivate the audible alarm in the unit itself and just rely on the push notifications, but hey, that's just me, each to their own. So you can set push notifications to tell you if your heater's been on for too long and the tank's still not reached temperature. You can set push notifications if your tank has reached an alarm high level or an alarm low level. Super handy functions. And the last little bit that you can do with that is you can control if this then that device is with it. So most of your little powered sockets, the ones you plug into the wall and they connect to the internet, can work with this unit. So you can plug in a whether it be an Arlo or a Hue or a Smart thing, something like that. Little powered socket if you want to control your fan or your chiller or something like that, or something completely else. If you want to switch on your house fan and you've got that internet connected, you can control that with the Inkbird. Now, for those of you who have watched my channel before, I love to connect these little things up. I've got Siri shortcuts on my phone that will tell me my tank's alkalinity, or tell me the temperature of my house, temperature of my fish tank, and I'm really excited to play with the API on the Inkbird unit and see if I can't get pulling some information out and doing some automations with it, just to do some things like turn on the house air conditioning or the house ceiling fan, send a push notification if the heater's been on for too long or it hasn't been on for long enough, the heater hasn't turned on for 3 days or something like that. It's pretty exciting stuff. Anyway, you've heard enough of me rambling. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the system itself and the app, and then we'll call this review done.
All right, so here's our temperature controller itself. Obviously, I've taken it off the aquarium to give you a bit of an overview of what it looks like. You can see in the top left here, we've got a little Wi-Fi status button, and we've got some buttons on the front of the unit you can use here. So the top, or that one there that says Wi-Fi, you can press that and it'll cycle between your low temperature and your high temperature setting. Up the top is your current temperature setting. This button here turns the power off, and that's if you need to switch the power off to the unit without getting your phone out. Obviously, you can press that to put it back on again, and you're back in action again. Right, so we've got our temperature there. You can see we've got 2 outlets, both Australian, but they are both on the heater circuit. As mentioned before, you'll need to use the Wi-Fi components if you want to do chillers. And you can see the 2 temperature probes here. One thing I'm not entirely sure on is what happens if one probe gets hot and the other gets cold, but I guess I'll keep experimenting to see what happens there. The other thing that I want to touch on is that I do have some discount codes for some buyers from Australia and overseas. Check out in the description below if you want to save a few bucks on one of these controllers yourself. So other than that, that pretty much wraps up the unit. Like I said, there's lots of videos out there if you want to check out others, but hopefully this covers everything you need.
Thanks guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or comments, pop it in the comments down below. And of course, if you want to see more quick and to the point reviews like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any in future. Thanks again guys, happy reefing.